There we go.
What's going on, everybody? It's Avid Fishing here. Today's video that you guys are going to watch is just my favorite way of catching bass all year round, and that's just on a jig. There's just something about that sensation, that bite, when you're jigging that bass jig back to the boat, and you just feel that weight or that smack, and you just got to load up on them. That's my favorite way to catch them. Sometimes when I'm out there fishing, you know, I forget that I'm bringing you guys with me, so I don't talk too much and I don't show the camera a lot of things. So some of my videos are going to be split between footage of us on the lake and probably me in here giving you guys a rundown of what's been going on. So anyways, stay tuned for some tips and tricks, and hopefully you guys can learn something along the way. Cheers.
Good old gracious golly. Yes, sir. And look, he just popped right.
Alright, so I'm just going to give you guys a little bit of a rundown of my rod, reel, and jig setup that we were using to catch these smallies and largies along these shorelines. So first things first, it's a St. Croix. This is an older bay casting rod. It's a Avid series. It's a medium heavy. It's a 7 foot long with an extra fast action tip. Really just loads up nicely. With a 1/2 ounce jig on here, you can really just keep the sensitivity all the way through the rod. You can feel your jig coming over those rocks, coming through those weeds, coming through the timber. It's just very important that when you're throwing a jig that you have a sensitive rod that has a good backbone. Now the reel itself, I've talked about this before. This is a Shimano, I believe an SLX, and it's a 6:3-to-1 gear ratio. This is my more finesse setup. I know that a lot of guys use a faster retrieve, and I do as well on my bigger, heavier rod where I'm using a 3/4 ounce. But when I'm using a 1/2 ounce or lighter, I kind of like to have a slower retrieve because it makes me slow down my retrieve, knowing that I have a 6:3-to-1. You know, sometimes when I set into those fish, I do have a little bit of problems trying to reel in the slack to keep those fish pinned, but it's just a confidence thing for me. I like to bring my 1/2 ounce, my 1/4 ounce jigs back to the boat a little bit slower, so a slower retrieve. It allows me to do such a thing. The line on basically all of my flipping rods is 30-pound Suffix, the 832, and then I always put a liter, and it's a confidence thing, I always put a liter of Seaguar, and now I've especially started using the Brazex, the 20-pound. When you're fishing especially in Canadian Shield or any of these clear southern Ontario lakes, there's a lot of rocks. You're going to flip these rocks, you're going to flip docks. You need to have fluorocarbon that's going to be abrasion resistant, because you don't want that line to snap. You don't want that line to get cut off when you're fighting a 2, 3, 4, 5 pound largemouth, smallmouth, whatever it may be for that particular lake. Some of the footage that I didn't include in today were there was a lot of pike that engulfed this jig, but because of the Brazex, it didn't get cut. I didn't lose my jig. I didn't have to sit there and retie. You know, pay the extra little bit of money, get the Seaguar Brazex, put on a leader. I know, you know, you're gonna have to retie a leader eventually at some point, but if that's the difference between landing a big fish and not landing a big fish, I'm always gonna put the leader on.
Guy was getting pulled. Number 4. Up for it. Money. Up for it though, eh? Ooh. Almost just died.
Alright, so let's get to the jig breakdown. It's very simple. I just use a custom-made jig that I get made by a buddy of mine. It's all black. It's got a sharp Gamakatsu hook on the back. And I wasn't a rattle guy before. I am a rattle guy now. I'd rather have the rattles than not have the rattles. I don't think there's been a day yet where I've been throwing a jig where having no rattles has put more fish in the boat, but I definitely do think having rattles has put more fish in the boat. It just gives them something else to key in on, especially if you're fishing rock flats or rock shoals. That little bit of that shake there, I think it draws them in. Now the chunk, generally speaking, at the start of the season, doesn't matter what lake I'm fishing, doesn't matter if I'm in the Kawarthas, Muskokas, wherever, I'm always going to start off with a Berkley Power Bait Max Scent meaty chunk. This particular day I went through like 4 packages between me and my pops. All I'm doing is I'm threading the chunk onto the hook, so it's not sitting this way and then sitting big off the back. I'm threading it right through the meaty part of the chunk, and the hook is coming out of the back. Let's see if you guys can focus in on that there. Yeah, I don't know if you guys can see that, but it's a small presentation, and these claws aren't super aggressive under the water, and that's what I think is a big thing right now. These fish are post-spawn. Like, I know the smallmouth have already been spawned out for a while, and the same maybe with the largemouth as well, like 2-3 weeks. But for some reason, these fish have been always in a post-spawn funk. They're very lethargic. If you're throwing jerk baits, they want it on the pause. If you're throwing a jig, they don't want something that has aggressive tentacles on it. So that's just my preference. Early in the season, I'm throwing a power bait, a Berkley meaty chunk on the back, Then later on into the season, I may go with something a little bit bigger, a little bit bulkier, maybe something a little bit more aggressive when it cuts to late August, beginning of September, you know, get those claws really going.
Oh, you got him, eh? Ooh, that might be. That's a keeper.
Yeah, she'll call.
Yeah.
She'll
Yeah,
call.
definitely.
Like that, eh? There's one.
Okay, definitely. This guy here is the smaller one. Okay. Boom.
Got a fish?
Nope. I got some.
It's coming up.
Yeah, tree. Look at the size of that tree.
It's a Christmas tree.
Fish on.
What I tell you? Oh yeah, he'll call, eh?
You think?
100%. Look how he ate this jig. Look how he ate this jig. Oh, he's bleeding bad.
He's small.
Look how he ate that jig. It's gone, boys. It's gone. You can't even see it.
Yeah, see the little bit.
Now, in terms of, you know, what we were fishing, you know, a lot of times when people ask, oh, what were you throwing at? What were you looking for? There's just some days where these fish are positioned along the shoreline, and you know, you may not catch a fish for 100 yards, and then you may hit a 15-yard stretch where you catch 2, 3, 4. When you are fishing a jig and you are committed to fishing shorelines, you have to put your head down and keep going. You know, I see a lot of the time, even myself as a younger angler trying to learn the jig, I would get discouraged. You know, you see a whole bunch of docks that look really juicy. You're saying to yourself, there's got to be a big one around here. There's got to be a fish here. And you don't land any. You don't get a bite. You get discouraged. You pull off. You go fish points. You go fish, you know, deeper weed lines. You can't get discouraged. You got to put your head down and you got to keep fishing. This jig, it's very monotonous. It's boring. It's slow. But when you get those bites, generally speaking, you are going to get the larger fish. And in this particular video today, you know, there's a whole bunch of fish that I didn't show you just because they're not worthy showing. They're small dinkers, right? But this day was fantastic. Between me and my pops, we probably had over 30 bass off of shorelines, right? So just keep your head down, keep plucking away, throw the jig, and you're going to be rewarded. It's just, you got to get there at the right time. You got to hit them at the right time, and that's the way jig fishing is done. have any questions, comments, or concerns, put them down below. Follow me on Instagram. Shoot me a message. I'm more than happy to always help you guys.